From the frozen reaches of the Arctic Circle to the windswept shores of Tierra del Fuego, from sea to shining sea, the Americas harbor ancient secrets that refuse to stay buried. In every shadow cast by skyscraper or sequoia, in every whisper of prairie wind or jungle rain, there are stories. Stories that the rational mind rejects. Stories that the old ones knew to fear. Stories that modern man, in his hubris, has chosen to forget. But the land remembers. It remembers what stalked these continents before the first footprint was pressed into virgin soil. It remembers what lurks still in places where the veil grows thin, in abandoned mining towns and bustling city streets, in suburban basements and sacred groves, in the depths of the Great Lakes and the heights of the Andes. Here, where civilizations have risen and fallen like breath on a mirror, where the new world was built atop the bones of the old, where progress marches forward while something primordial watches from the corners of our vision. Here, terror takes 1,000 forms. These are the chronicles of those who have glimpsed what should not be. These are the testimonies of those who survived and those who didn't. These are the warnings that go unheeded, generation after generation. Welcome to American Frights. It's where every doorway might open onto nightmare, where every highway leads through darkness, where the monsters are real and they have always been here. Waiting. Listen carefully, and remember, some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Propaganda Press presents American Frights. Book 1. Nobody Eats at Enzo's. Written by James Krieger. Narrated by Richard Stark. The grease-stained awning of Enzo's family restaurant had been promising grand opening for the past 23 years. Terry Lee drove past it every day on his way to work at the Dollar General across the street, and every day he wondered the same thing. How the hell was it still in business? The parking lot was perpetually empty save for a rusted-out Buick that might have been beige once. The neon sign flickered between ENOs and NO. Even the pigeons avoided the dumpster out back. "I swear that place is a front," his girlfriend Brittany said one afternoon, following his gaze through the Dollar General's front window. They were sharing a joint in his beat-up Corolla during his lunch break, windows cracked just enough to let the smoke escape. Money laundering or something? "For 20 years? Terry Lee asked, taking a long drag. "That's dedication. Or maybe it's like a CIA thing." Brittany's eyes were getting that glassy look she got when the weed hit just right. "You know how they had all those fake businesses in the Cold War? Maybe Enzo's is where they train spies to blend in." By running the world's shittiest Italian restaurant? Think about it. She grabbed his arm, excited now. What better cover? Nobody goes in, nobody asks questions. Perfect place to run operations. Terry Lee passed her the joint and squinted at Enzo's through the windshield. The afternoon sun made the grimy windows look like cataracts. "Nah, my theory is it's Dixie Mafia. Some good old boy needed a front for running pills or moonshine back in the day, and they just forgot about it. Been running on autopilot since the Clinton administration." "The Dixie Mafia would at least make decent food," Brittany countered. "My Meemaw says you can tell real Southern criminals by their barbecue joints. They actually care about the food." "Maybe it's cursed." She waggled her fingers dramatically, smoke trailing from the joint between them. "Maybe everyone who eats there dies mysteriously." "Or worse," Terry Lee said, feeling the paranoia creep in like it always did when they got too high and started talking about Enzo's. "Maybe they don't die. Maybe they just change, like you eat their pizza and suddenly you're one of them." "One of who?" "I don't know. The people who eat at Enzo's." He laughed, but it came out nervous. "Maybe that's why we never see anyone we know there. They're all converted." Brittany took another hit, held it, then exhaled slowly. "You ever notice how the lights in there don't match? Like some are yellow, some are white, some are that weird blue color that makes everyone look dead?" "And the parking lot," Terry Lee added. "Oil stains everywhere, but they're in patterns. Almost like symbols." "Fuck, we're too high for this conversation." But Brittany was leaning forward now, studying the restaurant like it might reveal its secrets. "Although, my cousin Jackie swears she saw someone go in there once at like 3 a.m. Said they were walking all wrong, like their knees bent backwards. Bullshit. That's what she said, and when they opened the door, she said the light that came out was the wrong color, like not a color that exists. Your cousin Jackie also thinks birds are government drones. Yeah, but what if she's right about this one thing? They sat in silence for a moment, both staring at the restaurant. Then Brittany's eyes lit up with that dangerous glint Terry Lee knew too well. I dare you to go in there. Hell no, Terry Lee said immediately. Nobody in their right mind would go in there. What's wrong, sugar? Her accent thickened the way it always did when she was being mean. You chicken? I'm not chicken, I'm just not stupid. Bok, bok, bok. She flapped her arms, nearly dropping the joint. Terry Lee's a scaredy cat. Brittany, don't... But she was already opening the car door. Fine. If you're too much of a pussy, I'll go check it out myself. Brittany, seriously... She was out of the car now, and despite every instinct screaming at her to stop, she started across the parking lot. In broad daylight, her attempt at sneaking looked ridiculous, crouching low, darting from imaginary cover to imaginary cover, ducking behind a light pole that was maybe half her width. Terry Lee watched from the car, torn between laughing at her antics and genuine worry. She pressed herself against the brick wall next to the entrance like she was in some spy movie, then slowly reached for the door handle. She pulled. Nothing. Pushed. Nothing. It's locked, she called back to him, sounding both relieved and disappointed. She cupped her hands against the glass to peer inside, then moved to examine the hours sign posted on the door. Even from across the parking lot, Terry Lee could see her squinting in confusion. She waved him over, but he shook his head. She flipped him off, then pointed at the sign more insistently. Finally, she jogged back to the car, sliding into her seat with a bewildered expression. The hours, she said, slightly out of breath. They're all fucked up. What do you mean? Like, it says they're open from... I don't know. The numbers don't make sense. There's like a 27 where hours should be and something that might be a 13, and the days of the week are... She shook her head. I can't even describe it. It's like trying to read in a dream. You're just high. I'm high, but I can still read, asshole. She grabbed his hand. Terry Lee, something is really wrong with that place. Terry Lee laughed, but something cold settled in his stomach. He'd lived in Millbrook his entire life, and he'd never known a single person who'd eaten at Enzo's. Not one. Working night shift at the Dollar General, Terry Lee had seen his share of weird. Meth heads buying 17 boxes of aluminum foil at 2 a.m., that lady who only shopped in a wedding dress, the guy who insisted on paying everything in pennies, but that Tuesday night on his smoke break around 9 p.m., he noticed something that made his skin crawl. There were cars in Enzo's parking lot, 4 of them, not counting the eternal Buick. He pulled out his phone and texted Brittany. Yo, there's actually people at Enzo's RN. She responded almost immediately. No fucking way, pick or it didn't happen. Terry Lee snapped a blurry photo of the lit windows and occupied parking spaces. Holy shit, they're actually open? Came her reply, followed by, You know what this means, right? That I should mind my own business and finish my shift? It means you gotta go in there. Brittany. No. Remember what we talked about? Now's your chance to prove you're not a little bitch. I'm at work. It's your break, and if you don't go in there right now, Terry Lee, I swear to God I will never touch your dick again. You're not serious. Try me. I'm so serious. Man up and go see what's in there or enjoy your hand for the rest of your life. Terry Lee stared at the restaurant. Through the windows, he could see shadows moving in ways that didn't quite match up with where people should be sitting. His break had 12 minutes left. I hate you, he texted. Love you too, baby. Now go before you pussy out. Curiosity and the threat of involuntary celibacy won over better judgment. He flicked his cigarette into the Dollar General's ashtray and walked across the street to Enzo's, each step feeling like he was walking through molasses. The parking lot seemed wider than it did during the day, like the asphalt was stretching to give him more time to turn back. The neon sign flickered as he approached. For just a second, instead of NOs, it flashed NO, bright red, unmistakable. Terry Lee stopped, blinking. The sign went back to its usual broken pattern. He was so focused on the sign that he stepped off the curb without looking. The blast of an air horn nearly stopped his heart as a fully loaded timber truck roared past, close enough that the wind knocked him back onto the sidewalk. The driver laid on the horn again, probably cussing him out behind the wheel. Jesus Christ, Terry Lee muttered, his hands shaking. That was almost it. Almost got turned into roadkill right in front of the Dollar General where they'd have to hose him off the asphalt. Maybe it was a sign. Maybe. But Brittany's threat echoed in his head. He could imagine her tomorrow, arms crossed, that look of disappointment that was worse than anger. He checked both ways this time before crossing. It took every ounce of self-control Terry Lee had to keep walking toward the diner. His body fought him with each step, muscles tensing, skin crawling, that ancient monkey brain screaming, danger, danger, danger. It was primal, instinctual, the same feeling that kept cavemen from walking into a bear's den. Every cell in his body knew that no one in their right mind would go near this place. His hand was inches from Enzo's door handle when he heard it, the electronic chime of the Dollar General's entrance, cutting through the summer cicadas. Shit! Customer! Relief flooded through him like cool water. He had an excuse, a real, legitimate reason to turn around. He jogged back across the street, legs feeling lighter with each step away from Enzo's. The feeling of wrongness lifted like coming up from deep water. The customer was just some farmer buying energy drinks and beef jerky. Terry Lee's hands shook as he rang him up, making small talk about the weather and the construction on Route 23. Normal things. Human things. When the farmer left, Terry Lee looked back through the window. Enzo's squatted in its lot like a toad, waiting. The cars were still there, the lights still wrong. His break was over anyway. He told himself he'd try again later, knowing it was a lie. Some instincts were meant to be listened to. Brittany had given him shit for being chicken, but she'd still put out that weekend. Maybe she was all talk. Maybe she understood deep down that some places weren't meant to be entered. 2 weeks later, Terry Lee was restocking the candy aisle at 3 a.m. while Brittany sat on the counter, scrolling through her phone. Night shift was easier with company, even if Doug the manager would bitch about it. If he found out. Holy shit, Brittany said, legs swinging. Listen to this. This true crime blogger went deep on missing persons in Appalachia. You know how many people have vanished in this region since the 70s? Mm-hmm. Terry Lee was trying to make the Snickers bars face the same direction. Doug was real particular about that. Over 300. 300, Terry Lee, and that's just the ones that got reported. That got his attention. Bullshit. I'm serious, and it's not like on cop shows where they find bodies and shit. These people just... She made a poof gesture with her hands. Gone. No trace. Families never get closure, never know what happened. Just wake up one day, and Daddy didn't come home from work, or Mama's car is found on the side of the road with her purse still in it. That's fucked up. But here's the weird part. This blogger mapped all the disappearances, and there's like a cluster around this area. 17 people, all last seen within 5 miles of here. Different decades, different ages. Cops never connected them, because some were ruled runaways, some were probably fell in the gorge, some were domestic situations. She made air quotes, but 3 witnesses over the years reported seeing the same car. A green Mercury Marquis with wood panels. License plate X RB811. That's specific, right? Like, how do 3 different people remember the exact same license plate 20 years apart? She showed him her phone screen. The car in the old police photo looked like something from a horror movie. Faded paint, rusted chrome, windows too dark to see through. Probably misremembered, Terry Lee said, but his mouth was dry. Or fake. You know how these internet detectives are. Maybe. But think about it. How many missing persons cases you think actually get solved? It's not like CSI where they always find the killer. Most times people just vanish and that's it. Family puts up flyers, cops do a half-ass search, file goes cold. Nobody gives a shit about missing hillbillies. Terry Lee glanced up from the candy and froze. Through the store window, Enzo's parking lot had cars again, at 3 a.m. No fucking way, Brittany breathed, following his gaze. She hopped off the counter. We're going over there. Brittany. Nuh-uh, you chickened out last time. I'm not sleeping with you again until you grow a pair and check it out with me. You said that last time and still... I mean it this time. She was already heading for the door. Come on, I'll go with you. Terry Lee abandoned the Snickers and followed her out into the humid night air. The cicadas were deafening. They crossed the empty street together, Brittany grabbing his hand as they entered the parking lot. "What the fuck?" she whispered. The vehicles arranged in the lot looked like a gathering from a nightmare. An ice cream truck with no markings, its white paint stained with rust that looked too much like dried blood. A hearse, not a modern one, but something from the 60s, with curtains in the windows. A tow truck with its hook raised like a scorpion's tail. A blacked-out Cadillac with windows so dark they looked painted. "That van," Terry Lee said, nodding toward a windowless panel van that might have been blue once. "That's the kind they tell kids to stay away from." "And what the hell is that?" Brittany pointed to something that might have been an old ambulance, but the cross had been scratched off and replaced with something else. Something that hurt to look at. But it was the far corner of the lot that made Brittany's hand tighten painfully around his. "Terry Lee?" Her voice was barely audible. "Look at the plate." A green Mercury marquee with wood panels sat under the broken light. Even in the bad light, he could make out the letters and numbers. XRB 811. "We need to go," he said. "Right now." But Brittany was already pulling out her phone, trying to get a picture. The flash went off, blindingly bright in the darkness. The restaurant door chimed. They both looked up to see someone. Something, standing in Enzo's doorway. It might have been human-shaped, but the proportions were all wrong. Too tall, arms too long, and its face. "Run!" Terry Lee said. But the thing in the doorway didn't walk. It simply arrived, existing first at the threshold and then somehow closer without the intervening space, as if reality hiccuped around its presence. Its impossible height forced it to bend beneath the frame. Yet once in the open air, it seemed to stretch even taller, a figure drawn by someone who didn't understand human proportions. Those terrible arms hung past where knees should be, not swinging but drifting with a weightless quality that made them seem both there and not there, like shadows cast by nothing. They ran. Shit, shit, shit. Brittany grabbed his arm and yanked him sideways toward the restaurant instead of away. Their fight-or-flight instincts overrode every warning bell about Enzo's. Whatever was inside had to be better than the thing bearing down on them. They dodged around the creature, Terry Lee catching a whiff of something like formaldehyde and spoiled meat. Brittany reached the door first, yanking it open. The thing behind them made a sound like radio static mixed with breaking bones. They tumbled inside together. Terry Lee slamming the door shut and fumbling for a lock that wasn't there. His hands scrabbled across smooth wood. Nothing. Behind them, through the glass, that impossible thing was getting closer. The door had chimed when they burst through, a discordant three-note melody that made his teeth ache. Now, as his eyes adjusted to the interior, he almost wished they hadn't come inside. The lighting was so dim, he had to squint to see. Some bulbs were completely dead. Others flickered at nauseating intervals, creating pools of shadow between the booths. The checkerboard linoleum had yellowed to the color of old bones. A sign near the entrance read, "Eat yourselves." No, wait, that was "Seat yourselves," with the S crossed out in what looked like dried brown marker, or something else. Screw waiting. They slid into the nearest empty booth, the vinyl squeaking and sticking to his jeans. The tabletop was tacky with old syrup or something. A menu was already there, laminated and sticky. While they waited, Brittany's hand found his under the table, squeezing hard enough to hurt. Her eyes darted around the restaurant, taking everything in. "This Americana crap is creepy as hell," she whispered, nodding toward the walls. "Look at that fish." Terry Lee followed her gaze to a photo of a man holding a catfish the size of a canoe, except the fish had too many eyes. "And what the fuck is up with that jackalope?" She pointed to a stuffed head whose antlers branched in ways that hurt to follow with your eyes. A group of moldering leprechauns grinned down at them with warped faces. A string of shamrocks had degraded to read, "Kiss me, I'm Ish." "Terry Lee!" Brittany's voice went cold. "Look at that wall." It was covered in missing persons flyers. Dozens of them, some yellow with age, some fresh enough to be from last week. "Have you seen me?" Over and over. "What's wrong with you two?" They both jumped. A haggard old woman with stringy gray hair and a uniform that might have fit her 40 years ago had appeared next to their table. When she smiled, Terry Lee could see she was missing most of her teeth, and the ones remaining were the color of old pennies. "Looks like you've seen a ghost," she asked, then laughed, a wet, rattling sound that turned into a smoker's cough. She hacked into her sleeve for a good 10 seconds before continuing. "Course it is. Always is." "I'm sorry?" Terry Lee managed. She tilted her head, studying them both. "I asked what's wrong with you. You're sitting here all..." She gestured vaguely at them. "Like that. All normal-like. Brittany's hand tightened on his. We're just hungry? Hungry for what? The waitress leaned in, her breath smelling like ashtrays and something metallic. We got the specials tonight. Fresh adrenal glands, sautéed real nice. Bone marrow soup. Still got some femur if you like it chunky. The tenderloin is good, harvested this morning from a hog. Sure, a hog. She coughed out a laugh. Blood pudding's congealed just right. Oh, and the chef's doing something special with spinal fluid and... She stopped, taking in their horrified faces. Terry Lee felt Brittany's nails digging into his palm. Oh, the waitress straightened up, her yellow eyes narrowing. Oh, you're not regulars. She let out another rattling laugh that turned into a cough. Just kidding about all that, honey. Little restaurant humor. We got pizza, burgers, normal food for normal folks like you. She pulled out her order pad, but then her smile began to stretch and stretch. The corners of her mouth kept going, pulling back past where lips should end, past her ears, showing rows and rows of teeth that went too far back into her skull. So, she said, her voice distorting around that impossible grin, what'll it be? Terry Lee and Brittany screamed. They bolted from the booth, knocking over the salt shaker, and ran for the door. Behind them, the waitress called out in that wet, rattling voice, "Y'all come back now!" The shapes in the other booths stirred as they passed, but they didn't stop, didn't look. They burst through the door into the night air, the chimes sounding almost like laughter behind them. They ran all the way back to the Dollar General, not stopping until they were inside with the doors locked. They stood there panting, staring at each other, and by some unspoken agreement, they never talked about it. Not that night. Not ever. Terry Lee quit the Dollar General a month later, moved 3 states away, got a job, a different girlfriend, a normal life. But sometimes, when he's driving through a new town, he'll pass one of those restaurants, the ones that have been there forever but no one ever talks about. A Tony Roma's with a parking lot full of weeds, an Applebee's where the sign never quite lights up right, a Pizza Hut that's been under renovation since the Clinton administration, and he'll feel it. That same primal wrongness he felt outside Enzo's. That ancient instinct screaming at him to keep driving, don't stop, don't even look too long. He always listens now. Some places aren't meant for people like him. Some restaurants serve a different kind of customer, and the only reason they look so run down, so uninviting, is because they're supposed to. It's protection, really. A warning. And Terry Lee learned that night in Millbrook that when your body tells you to stay away from somewhere, you should probably listen, because the alternative is finding out what's really on the menu. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. I'm Richard Stark, and it's been an honor to share this story with you. If you're ready for your next mission, Propaganda Press has a full arsenal of series waiting for you on this platform. Each one is locked and loaded with the kind of stories that keep you pressing forward, no matter what. For those who march to the beat of our soundtrack, all of our music is deployed across every major streaming platform. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, you name it. Just search for Springfield Syndrome or the audiobook title to add it to your playlist. Your support keeps us in the fight. And we'd be grateful if you drop us a review wherever you grabbed this audiobook. Your feedback is our intel. It helps us improve our operations and helps other listeners find their next objective. Stay strong, stay sharp, and remember, the only easy day was yesterday. This is Richard Stark, signing off. This has been American Frights. No One Eats at Enzo's by James Krieger. Narrated by Richard Stark. Produced by Propaganda Press Audio Division. Directed by Mike Village. Recorded at Supremacy USA in Dallas, Texas. Music by Janet Dree. Sound design by Kimberly Pamge. Edited by Kevin Snorb. Mastered by The Conductor. Published by Propaganda Press, LLC. Copyright 2025 by Propaganda Press, LLC. Production copyright 2025 by Propaganda Press Audio Division. All rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication is a violation of applicable laws. Don't get caught. Thank you for listening.
What are you still doing here? Get out. Story is over. Why are you still listening? There is nothing left. Go. Shoo. You want maybe I should read you phone book now? Is nothing here. Go home. Story is finished. Kaput. You think maybe secret chapter hiding here? Not yet. It's only me telling you to leave. What? You need personal invitation to go? Here is invitation. Get out. Party is over. You still here? Okay, I tell you story of my cousin Dmitri. Wait, no. No more stories. Book is done. Finished. Like my patients. It's like you are guest who won't leave party. DJ has gone home. Lights are on. I am in my bathrobe. Hint. Hint. Maybe you fall asleep? I clap for you. Clap, clap. Wake up. Time to go. Find new book. You waiting for what, sequel? It not here. Author still writing. Come back later. Shoo, shoo. Okay, you don't leave. I start charging rent. You owe me $5, $10, 15. See? Getting expensive. Better you go now. Fine, you want to stay? I sing a Russian lullaby until you get bored. Actually, no. My singing voice. She's terrible. You don't deserve such punishment. Please, just go.